If you saw the video where Swampy took the TF160 out for a drive, you might remember that he picked up on there being a bit of a pull on the brakes when he was braking heavily. He's obviously far heavier on the old right foot than I am, because I hadn't even found that. But what I'm going to do is just have the calipers off and just check everything over, just grease the pins and all of that, put it back together, and hopefully that will be all it needs. Hopefully it's nothing more than that. So looking at these, it's actually only the rear ones will have to come off of the car. The front ones, it looks like I can do in situ. 2 pins to take out, then this spring comes out, and then the pads just pull out. In theory, at least by the looks of it. I'm sure I'll learn more as I go. Top pin, bottom pin, and the spring. It's actually quite scary that they're just held in by friction. No circlips, nothing to hold them in place, purely just friction. Well, that came out easily enough. I'm quite looking forward to seeing the replay on that and see if I've actually got a brake pad smashing into the camera. Well, suffice to say that came apart very, very easily, literally flew apart. I'm just going to use the protected end of my grips to just push each of the pistons back one at a time. Just make sure that all the pistons are moving freely. Then I'm going to clean everything up, put it back together, and then I can move on to the next one. I'll be pushing the pistons back into the calipers, so I've removed the cap from the brake fluid reservoir. Not 100% certain about this one, so what I'm going to do is just very lightly touch the brakes. Definitely don't want to be pushing the pistons out. In fact, what I might just do, very temporarily, might just sit the pads back in, because I definitely don't want to push those pistons out. So I'm going to just put the pads back in, touch the brakes, which will push that out, and then I'm going to check this one again. The other 3 definitely all moving nicely. That one, maybe. Yeah, all 4 of them have moved forward, no problem. So just going to try that one again. Oh yes, no problem at all. He's happy with all of those. So like I said, good clean up, put it all back together, and hopefully job done for this side. I do think it will be easier if I take the caliper off. It will give me better access to clean everything. So although it's tempting to get in there with a wire brush and give it a bloody good clean, that is a definite no-no. There's rubber seals in there that would not be good. So you don't want those being damaged under any circumstances. So I'm just going to give it a clean up with soft materials, and then I can start the reassembly. I noticed the inner pad was a little bit tight in there, and the outer pad was definitely moving around far more freely. So just chamfered the edge of the inner pad very slightly with the file, and that's made a big difference. The inner pad is now moving nicely as well. Last job for the time being. The wheel's not going back on because I'm still doing the paintwork. 85 Newton meters torque, and then that should be it for this caliper. I'm going to move on to the back caliper on the same side. There we go, that's one. Safety first, both the front and the back wheels are chocked. Because the handbrake has to be off for me to be able to work on the rear brakes, the car is in reverse gear as well, so I don't think it's going anywhere. These are surprisingly small after working on the front ones. They're adequate, that's probably all they are. NGTFs aren't known for their amazing braking. However, the back brakes are more for steadying. Most of the braking is done by the front. So I think I just need to get the caliper off, give them a bit of a clean up, put it all back together. Caliper's held on by 2 bolts, so I'll have that off first. The inner pad has this spring clip on it. I'm not quite sure what it's for, but it is making it awkward to get out. Although, as it happens, it's actually easy. Once you know how to do it, it just twists that way. Simple as that. We then just have these 2 springs to take out. That's the top one. And that's the bottom one. This is very easy to separate. That comes off. Oh, they're looking quite good actually. They're nicely greased up, so I don't think there's any problem with those. This one, I don't really see any problem getting in there with a wire brush, for this angle at least. I'm not going to catch the rubber seal, so it should be okay. I'm going to get a wind back tool and push the piston back in, make sure that's moving freely, give it all a clean up, and then just reassemble it. This is a Sealey 21 piece kit, and it's a number 7 adapter, so if you happen to have the same kit as this, I have probably saved you all of 5 seconds working out which adapter to use. So the way this works, very simple. Just put this plate over here like that, and then the adapter goes onto the end there. Then it sits inside the caliper like this. Line it all up, and then just turn this outer ring to lock it, and then it's just a case of turning this to push the piston back in. Now I've actually done this already. Thought I had the camera on, didn't have the camera on, but you get the idea anyway. So basically that piston moved very nicely. I've wound it all the way back in now, and it is literally just a case of turning the handle clockwise, and it goes in. If I remember when I do the other side, I'll get some video of that, but otherwise you get the idea. Very, very simple. I've cleaned up the 2 pins, and I'm just going to put some fresh grease on them. I can now put this on. That's 1. 2. So the pads are in good condition, plenty of life left in those. They just need a good clean. I'll file off any rough edges, clean up the clip, and then I can put everything back. Something far more important than car brakes has cropped up. for lunch, so I shall be back later. It's now 72 hours later, so that was actually quite a long lunch break. We had a storm towards the tail end of the week, so it was just rubbish being outside, so I didn't bother. Anyways, all I need to do is just reassemble the brakes, and then I can move the car, turn it around and do the other side. Worth noting that there's a little protrusion on the back of the pad there, so yeah, that's going to have to go into there. Okay, that's one side done, so I can just get the wheels back on, turn the car around and then do the other side. One thing worth noting, because of the protrusion on the back of the pad, we need to leave the piston at the same rotation as it started. So having put everything back together and doing all the safety checks on the driveway, I took the car down the road just quite gently in a 30-mile-an-hour limit, gently touched the brakes and thought, yeah, something's not quite right here. Just pushed a little bit harder and suddenly pop, and the pedal went to the floor. And this is what I found. Definitely a bit chilly out here today, but needs must. Having just put all this back together again, it's all got to come apart because I've got to get that brake pipe out and make up a new one. You can see on the firewall between the engine compartment and the passenger compartment, we've got this T-piece. The pipe that's coming out on the left goes up and round to the left rear brake caliper. The pipe that's coming out on the right goes up and round to the right rear brake caliper. The pipe that's coming in from the top is the one that comes from the ABS unit at the front of the car. I've stripped the old brake pipes out. What I've done is I've taken the two rear ones out and also the long one that runs from the back of the car to the front. This is the replacement for the pipe to the right rear. That's the one that actually burst. It's only the second time in my life I've ever suffered complete brake failure. The last time, just to give you an idea how long ago it was in a Mark III Cortina. I'm hoping this shows up on camera fairly well. This is why I've actually ended up replacing all 3 pipes, because although this one came out, the other 2 were not going to come out in situ. They wouldn't come out actually afterwards on the vise. Again, I don't know if you can see that one. I've just stripped this to pieces, and that's with the T-piece in the vise. So these were well and truly rusted together. I'm pleased to say it's all back together. The system was filled with DOT4 and bled, and the brakes are working nicely. So what I thought I would do is just wrap up the video with a quick look and demo of the brake flaring tool that I use. I think this is a pretty good kit. I'm very pleased with this one. Much better than the cheaper ones I've had in the past that quite honestly I couldn't really get on with at all. The only issue I have with this one is holding it steady when actually making up a flare on a pipe on the car. When I put it on the vise, it's absolutely brilliant. And I've got here a metric male union. Whatever you do, don't forget to put the union on before making the end, because there is absolutely no way it will ever go over the end. This kit will make up both DIN, ISO and SAE flares. You can get a pretty good idea of the difference between the two from this. So I'm going to make up a DIN end because that's what we use on the TFs. So basically it's a case of just putting the pipe in like that, and that clamps into here. This is the DIN flare, and just pushes straight into there like that. Screw that into there. Then it simply pushes in like that and screw it forward. Now that's in and clamped. It is very simple. Just tighten this up. It can't go too far because of the way the tool is made. So I guess at the stage where it stops about there. And then when I undo this, this has got a quick release on it, which is really useful. Let's see how well this has come out. They normally work well. I've had the occasional one go wrong, but generally they work pretty well. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. So just to show how it all bolts together, like I said before, don't forget to put the union on before making the end. That goes on to there like that, and then when you screw it into a fitting, that's it, complete. As you can see, it's actually a pretty simple, straightforward process. All I would like to say is please don't do this if you're not 100% sure of your capabilities or you haven't got somebody to check your work. The consequences of brake failure is not ideal, to say the least. Suboptimal, as some people say. Anyways, job done. My car's back on the road. I would just like to say thank you very much for watching. I suspect the next video that you'll see will be from Swampy, but I'll be back pretty soon as well. Cheers. Bye.